Morning in Mexico City, such a Saturday morning, beautiful Saturday morning. And we're very happy because we have two people, one in Beirut, our beloved Hady Zaccack, and our person, our migrant, Mahmoud Kaabour in Berlin. So hello, good morning, Hady.
Good morning.
Good morning. And good morning, Mahmoud.
I'll say good afternoon. It's
good afternoon. Good afternoon.
4 p.m. here.
4 p.m. So you already had your lunch and everything. Okay, and it's a sunny day in Berlin. Wow.
Which is not very common. So
yeah.
I'm glad to be participating.
Yeah, this is because today is La Semana Árabe en México. We changed the name now. It's the Semana de Medio Oriente y Norte de África. This is a week that is dedicated to talk about everything that is related with the Arab world, especially history, politics, and culture, and from many different places and from many different points of view. And it's an academic event that it's completely for free for anybody who wants to enter. And also, I should say that our guests are here also for free. So they are even so generous that they are giving us their time and all their knowledge. So I should really, really thank you in public for being so generous. And well, I want to say that Ginger is our co-host. Hello, Ginger. Good morning.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, bonjourain, bonjourain. So I'm extremely happy to have these two people here today. And I have to say we are recording this session on Zoom. Then we are transmitting live on Facebook. If anybody needs the link on Facebook, just ask on the chat, and either Ginger or Nofred or me, we will be very, very happy to share you the link in case anybody else needs it. And we're gonna jump to know our two guests. After this transmission, we're gonna record the whole session and we're gonna upload it to YouTube, as Hady and Mahmoud both accepted. So this way, this document or this audiovisual document can then circulate and serve also to researchers, because there are not so many interviews online with Arab documentary filmmakers or Lebanese documentary filmmakers, at least not in depth, and not so many, and not online on video. So this is a great opportunity for you researchers that want to know more about the Arab world and the filmmaking scene in the Arab world. And as you can see, all our events are in Spanish, and then we do translation when they are live. But because of this online thing now, we are doing it. I don't know if you can hear my daughter, but that was my daughter. I want to introduce our two people because I am so happy and so thankful they are here. So first of all, we have Hady Zaccack. Hady Zaccack is a Lebanese award-winning filmmaker, a professor at ESAF. ESAF is the film school at the University of San Josef. It's a beautiful university in Beirut. He's the author of, attention filmmakers, more than 20 documentaries. And his selective filmography includes beautiful films, important, very social films like Ya Omri, that was jury award in, now I'm reading, the Malmö Arab Film Festival, Sweden. And then he made a very important film, Kamal Jumblat, Witness and Martyr, that talks about one of the key figures in the history of politics in Lebanon. Mercedes, that was FIPRESI Award in Dubai Film Festival, a history lesson, first prize in the Arab Film Festival in Rotterdam. And in 1997, he wrote a book in French, and that's why I met Hady, in French, about the history of Lebanese cinema, that is called Le Cinéma Libanais, itinéraire d'un cinéma vers l'inconnu, 1929-1996. So thank you so much, Hady, for being with us. And now I want to read and introduce the biography of Mahmoud, because I am super happy to have you both here. Mahmoud Kaabour is a Lebanese filmmaker and a content consultant. He graduated in film production from Mel Oppenheimer School of Cinema in Montreal before working for the National Film Board of Canada and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. How lucky were the Canadians? His films Being Osama, Grandma 1,000 Times, and Champ of the Camp won top awards with festivals like Doha Tribeca, London International Dog Fest, Docs DF, which is here in Mexico, Taiwan International Dog Fest, and Docs Box, and were all broadcast internationally. In 2015, he was named to the list. He was named to the list of 100 most powerful Arabs under 40.
I was under
Okay,
40.
okay. I mean, he lives in Berlin now, but he was in Beirut, right, Mahmoud? So if you don't mind, we begin making some questions because we're dying to know what is the situation now in Beirut. And just because you were the last I presented, that you be the first. How was it, Mahmoud? How was it for you to go and to be there after the explosion? Tell us a little bit.
Sure.
What was your journey? Yeah.
I haven't lived in Beirut in 22 years now.
22.
The last time I lived there, I was still a student in communication arts. And then I went back to Beirut for 3 years of university. And then since then, I've had the wonderful experience of making my movie on my grandmother, Grandma 1,000 Times, which I filmed in Lebanon over 1 year, and that kind of rekindled a strong relationship to the city I was born in. And that was my first experience working in the wonderful documentary community of Beirut. There's a really wonderful network of extremely talented shooters and editors and producers. And I was lucky.
And I should say, sorry, and sound editors
as well.
We have a sound editor who has been nominated to the Oscars. So
correct. Ranaid. So that relationship stayed alive. And then Lebanon has had quite a terrible couple of years, which I think Hady can tell us quite a bit about. And I, like many people in the diaspora, have been keeping an eye on what's going on. And then when the explosion happened, I personally could not hold myself anymore. So I basically packed my stuff, I booked a film crew, and I took the necessary corona measures to be able to leave Germany and return to Germany, which is a very complicated thing. And I spent so far 2 weeks filming in Lebanon. It has been over 2 trips for me. I just returned the last time 5 days ago. And I will tell you in short about the experience of being in Beirut and grieving behind the camera with a crew and just trying to capture as much as possible in this moment of history. But I don't want to steal from the local. I think Hady has been living it probably more closely than me. And I'm really looking forward to hear about his experience as well.
Yeah, don't worry, you're not stealing from anybody. Migrants also have hearts and they also have feelings. And it was important to understand that there is this back and forth, a continuous back and forth for the Lebanese, especially because we are in Mexico, a country where there are so many Lebanese who are migrants and who were so excited about this day today that we were going to meet like real Lebanese filmmakers. So a shout out for them. And yeah, and now we give a voice, of course, and we want to hear to Hady. How are you, Hady? How is the situation? How are you feeling?
Well, it's very tough, especially that during the last 24 hours, we had also other explosions, plenty of fires. Many forests are burning because of the temperature and the wind. Yesterday, there was an explosion in Tariq al-Jadida, today in Ashrafiyeh. It's all related to gas and fuel leakage. But anyway, it's becoming like the routine. In the year 2020, we can say that every day there is something. So, and when you watch the news every day, you have new events in addition to the financial crisis, which is going more and more hard. And so it's really a surviving mode. So when the explosion arrived on the 4th of December, it was like, oh, sorry, on the 4th of August, it was like, still we can be surprised. And it was like, I would say like an atomic explosion, because when you see the damages in Beirut, you know, I have lived 15 years of civil war, and I have filmed Beirut after the civil war. Even during the civil war, you could find buildings that remained intact, no damages in one corner, in one street. This time, it's really the total destruction. And this also makes you very weird, because, you know, for example, I went to Martyr Square some days after the explosion, and I looked at the buildings that I filmed some 20 years ago or more after the Civil War, so around 30 years ago. And I found them once again in damage and once again hurt. And so I wanted, how many times during your life you're going to witness the same damages? It's very weird, especially to film something when you were 20 years old, and now when you are in your 40s, you are like filming a remake, but you don't want to make a remake, and still you're living in kind of remakes. And this led me to say, maybe we are in love with remakes, but not always remakes are good. And sometimes the original is better than the remake. So you get lost a little bit, especially that also remakes in the film industry depict sometimes like if you lack ideas, you make a remake. But we have other ideas, so we don't want to make a remake, and we are supposed to make remakes.
Yeah, I was saying, you are a documentary filmmaker, but you jumped, yeah. How are you approaching it? Like, you are really filming it again? How does it feel? Or it has to be hard.
Yeah, I understand. Well, in the first days, I only went to see. I couldn't film.
You couldn't film. Yeah, I imagine. It's like, it has to be so difficult to have a camera.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be, first of all, the citizen that is witnessing. And it was very hard for me to film. It was like, I don't know, like in these days, violating something that was violated. So
Okay.
I wanted only to see, to hear, and to witness the places. And I was walking in the city and walking a lot. And there was heat. But anyway, I was also, you know, you were talking about migrant. I felt I am a stranger also. And it's like being a stranger in his own city, because the city was suddenly a strange city, a deserted city, a city of ghosts, where you find at the same time the new buildings and the old houses, and especially these old houses that we have been fighting through the years to protect them. Suddenly they are all in ruins. So whenever, you know, when we work on documentaries in Lebanon, it's like we are fighting the memory and fighting the death. And suddenly you have an event that provokes death to everything, and even to you, to yourself. So how are you going to deal with death while living in it? It's not easy.
Mm. I am so sorry. And Mahmoud, you went there and you were a few days in Berlin without like Hady, like without being able to record, and then you went there to do it. Why? And I guess the question, but the answer, but why and how was it?
At this point, I had not been to Beirut for 3 years. The last time I went to Beirut, I experienced very negative feelings. My favorite restaurants in Beirut had all closed. These are ones I grew up eating in since childhood. My favorite old Lebanese houses have been destroyed to be rebuilt into towers and real estate developments. So really the last time I was there, I thought that maybe I'm finally getting old and losing touch with the place that I used to know. And I would say my relationship turned a little bit cold. But then when the explosion happened, a lot of feelings were awakened. I still have family. My father, my grandmother, extended family who are there. And I could not just sit and experience it on YouTube. So I decided to go for the best of it and experience it behind the camera. Interestingly, the crew who worked with me are all ladies and young men who are living in Beirut, whom I was working with on my upcoming film, which I'm now developing. But when the explosion happened, I called them and I'm like, let's just go out and see what we can do. And many of them had not stepped outside their homes since the explosion and have not seen the city at all. I felt that as an expat, I probably was a little bit sheltered, and I have the strength to go through filming Beirut during the destruction. But my crew were not. And they, through this little production that we did, they were experiencing the destroyed city for the first time. And I would say that the hardest thing has been not just being in the destruction that Hady described, and he described it very accurately. It feels like an atomic bomb has hit a part of the city. But my crew were also going through these very strong convulsions because they would be looking at a part of the city and they know it so well, but suddenly it's no longer standing. And that was very hard. I myself managed to get through it. I filmed quite a bit of different stories, and I used them differently, mostly with news media, even though I'm not someone who worked for news ever before. But I just wanted to put these stories out and raise awareness. But then when I came back to Berlin, I started suffering severe trauma, which I did not feel in Beirut. And for 3 weeks, I had to really do an extra effort to look after myself and work with a trauma therapist. My body had retained so much adrenaline, I think, from shooting in this experience. And these 3 weeks, I was revisiting Beirut from many periods of my life, from my childhood before age 10, from my years as a university student, and what I have seen now. And in all of that experience, I couldn't help but imagine what is it like for the Beiruti who lives in the city to go through that experience, the experience of the explosion, and before that, 2 years of total economic collapse, of Corona, of all the hardships that are hitting Beirut and are really bringing the city to its knees right now.
Okay, so I think Ginger wants.
Yeah, I have a little question for Mahmoud. Well, first of all, I think that we have a very big diaspora of Lebanese people. And I do believe that there is a big expat trauma that must not be minimized. And my question for you is more like, how has the German community or the German Lebanese people who are living in Germany reacted to the explosion, to the October Revolution? Has there been like events? Have you organized something, or people try to avoid it? Do you talk about it?
We do. I'm not very involved in the Lebanese community in Germany, and I find the Lebanese community in this country specifically to be quite unique. It represents only one geography in Lebanon. It's not like France or or the UK or Mexico, where you have Lebanese of every class and every religion. It's quite more specific here. And nonetheless, there has been fundraisers, there has been demonstrations of anger outside the Lebanese embassy. There has been fundraisers also by donations by the German government. But I wouldn't say this is the country where you would feel it the most. It's not like what we were seeing happening in France, for example. During the revolution in Germany, there has been quite a bit of activity. There were a few demonstrations on Sundays, and they were pretty sizable, and they always took place at the Brandenburg Gate, which is a historic site for demonstrations through the history of the country. But as a reaction to the explosion, there has been a lot of media interest, but I would say some other countries have done a lot more than Germany has.
And were you able to
And when
document,
you-
or sorry, Laila, and were you able to document all these things that have been happening outside Lebanon, like for your media, or?
It was never really an interest of mine. Somehow I thought of it as something that is happening in my city. But when the explosion happened, I really wanted to be in Beirut, and I really wanted to see what's happening on the ground. And I'm so glad I did. I have so far been to Beirut 2 times since the explosion, for 1 week each time. And I filmed throughout. And it's been quite the experience each time. I don't know, maybe are we able to show a montage of what I filmed in Beirut from?
Yeah, I was gonna say that for sure we're gonna show Mahmoud shared with us a video that we want to show. But I wanted to ask you if there is any, about talking to take the question from the media. Is there media coverage in the Hady? Is there any media coverage of the situation now in Beirut from international and Arab press?
Yes.
Is there still interest in the
Yes,
subject?
you know, there was a very important French coverage, especially with the visit of President Macron.
Okay.
And if you want, the main interest that we have seen, first of all, was from Italy, France, and from Arab countries like Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Iraq, and even from other countries. I would mention, I don't know, Sri Lanka, or there was really an interest, plenty of, but I think for now, for the media, for the news, and especially even for studies and books, we are seeing some, especially from France.
Okay, and when you are filming now, Hady, and especially you, Mahmoud, you're filming because you think, and I'm gonna make a question that I hope it doesn't sound so simple, but Mahmoud, you think that your film can change something?
I mean, to be fully honest,
Yeah.
I was filming because I was grieving. I wanted to see with my eyes, and I thought the camera between me and the destroyed city will be a little bit of a protection. I noticed right away that the media was very obsessed with the explosion itself.
Yes. Okay.
It's a record-breaking explosion. It's the biggest since Hiroshima that is not atomic, etc., etc. But I found no one is really talking to people. And that was my interest. You know, the media was giving us statistics and numbers. There were 300,000 displaced people. There were 5,000 injured. There was, etc. But like, I'm like, can we go and talk to people? So I mean, I'm very much a character-driven documentary filmmaker. So I went to many places in Beirut and tried to speak to as many people as possible. I spent a full day in a hospital. I spent 2 days on fully demolished roads. I went to Karantina, which is a very poor neighborhood in Beirut that was hit the hardest. And it's where minorities live, you know, like Syrian refugees, immigrants, Palestinians, and impoverished Lebanese people. And like, I really wanted to talk to these people. I was not sure it's gonna come together into a film. And like I told you, my interest was to keep the mention of Beirut in the news as much as possible. So many of my stories I actually edited and sold as small documentaries that showed on Deutsche Welle, which is the German equivalent of the BBC, some to the CBC in Canada. I published a big piece with a video in the national newspaper in Abu Dhabi. But then there was one story that I got attached to, and I thought maybe this could be a film one day. And that's why I went to Beirut a second time to chase the story a little bit longer. What can such a film achieve? I don't know. I'm past my years of believing that documentary films can change the world, but they can definitely record history, and they can hold people responsible accountable to this history that they write. So it was an active act of writing history as it happens. And I think I need some distance from my material before I know what I can do with it.
Okay, okay. But at least you are keeping the dialogue, you're keeping the debate, and you're recording a historical document. And always history historically has been constructed by the powerful.
Exactly.
Now you are one of those powerful people named by the magazine. So I hope that that the document keeps being a powerful one, because we think that films cannot change the world. Maybe they cannot change the world, but as you said, in the long term, they are keeping track of history, and they are recording, and you guys are witnessing, and you are saying, I saw this, and I'm being able to share it. Hady, what do you feel about being a documentary filmmaker in Lebanon? Can you change something in Lebanon being a documentary filmmaker, or what is the motto that you? Why are you still being? Why are you making 20 documentaries? Why are you making almost a documentary per year? Why is this
No, I
happening?
think, as Mahmoud said, you discover quickly that you cannot change the world or anything. Maybe you can preserve yourself, not change the world. So, because I want to preserve myself and to live in Lebanon, this is my way of fighting. So, this is my way also of fighting in a country that lives in amnesia and denial. So documentary tackles all these hard questions. And because also I teach, so I have the experience to confront with the new generations how much they don't know anything about the history of Lebanon, how much they are really far from it, because at school they only learn about the independence, and the history stops with independence. So back 70 years ago. Filming is like writing history that is also a subject of confrontation and through the different communities. So this is, if you want, a way of fighting the denial and the amnesia and the death. This is why I said, why you are filming death and destruction, you are somehow getting alive and living once again. You can find this in many people, like the one who are reconstructing the same places that have been destroyed in the 70s and 80s, and now once again. So this is a will, and since this is finally our country, so it's like like a destiny that you have always to repeat. And document also, you know, becomes like the diary, your own diary that also reflects yourself, how you are growing, and sometimes how you are repeating things and how you are trying to understand. And maybe now, for now, we don't have the right distance. So whenever I'm filming now, I'm trying to collect because I'm not understanding everything and I need a distance to know what I will do with the material I'm filming. But the filming Beirut has not started with the explosion. It has been for me a complete way of life since the 90s. Since I first witnessed the destroyed Beirut due to the civil war, then the reconstruction, and the reconstruction was even a kind of destruction. And then everything that happened after the Hariri assassination. And for me, if you want, this chapter that we are living today starts effectively since somehow the Arab Spring in the 2011, then the garbage crisis in 2015, and I've been constantly filming now since the 17th of October 2017, where the street has begun to change. And the last 3 days, I was walking in Beirut and I noticed how the city was destroyed by everyone. It was destroyed by the explosion. It was destroyed by the state itself. It was destroyed by the people who tried to make a revolution. It was destroyed by everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so that's very harsh to hear, but I feel somehow that it is very accurate. It's a city that it's very much loved, and at the same time, it's very much damaged by everybody. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like a lover. I'm trying to remember this poem by Ghassan Kanafani. This poem by Ghassan Kanafani about Beirut. I'm trying to remember. So, Hady, you're talking a lot about filming as a process, and you said something very interesting that you've been filming since the 1990s. Hady Zaccack is a very important filmmaker. He's completely part of the. He's a key member or a key figure of the flourishment of a documentary community in Lebanon. How and Hady, no, Mahmoud, he talked a little bit. He gave us a glimpse of. He talked about a wonderful documentary filmmakers community. Can you tell us a little bit about the documentary filmmakers scene in Lebanon, Hady? If there are schools, if there are associations, if there are documentary festivals, if there are documentaries playing on TVs, like some hints, because you've been leading this scene.
Yes, we have been having a boom somehow in the scene of the documentary, especially since the years 2000, with the emergence of the satellite TVs in the Arab world, like Jazeera and Arabiya, then with the festivals that emerged also, especially in the Gulf states, like in Dubai and Doha and Abu Dhabi. And at the end of the years 2000, we have been also witnessing for the first time documentaries being screened at cinemas, especially in one cinema, which is Metropolis, which is RASA cinema. And plenty of people went to making feature documentaries with new also funding coming from some festivals or even from private funds. So there have been, like you said, really a flourish of the documentary scene. People, even at the university, usually people tend to, when they think about cinema, they go directly to fiction. So we can say also that since the year 2010, students have become also to have more interest in documentary, to make their diploma films as documentaries. So there was somehow a golden era, I would say, that goes from 2005 until 2017. Then with the start of the economic collapse, now we are once again, I could say that we are like in 1975-77 when the war broke up. We had a stop of everything. Some Lebanese went back from abroad to film, but there are no more kind of industry. So now I don't know what will come next. But it's like a stop for everything that was building up and going on with plenty of films, plenty of success. For example, Mahmoud, even when he showed his film theatrically, it was a very good hit. So now it's like something from the past for the time being. And for example, now I'm working with my students, the new generation. They are filming, they are making a collective film, so we can have also the other point of views. But I can say something which is something I didn't see before. I've been teaching for more than 20 years. For the first time, I talked to students, and they all want to leave. Okay, I never witnessed a total distraction in people. I always witness distraction in the city, but never a total distraction in people, even from those who wanted to stay and who have only 20, who are only 20 years old.
I can add to what Hady is saying. It is very true. I think Lebanon is about to experience an exodus, which is very similar to the beginning of the Lebanese Civil War in the middle of the 1970s. There are many countries that are making it a lot easier for the Lebanese to leave at this moment. Canada and France are at the top. Germany is also welcoming self-employed Lebanese artists who are always welcome in Berlin. It is very dark in that respect. My own cinematographer, Talal Khouri, who worked with me on both filming weeks, will be out of the country for the first time in his life with his family. He's roughly my age with a 12-year-old son, and they're gonna try their luck in France. So this is quite telling about the situation. But as someone who doesn't live in the country, I also see that, you know, to me, Beirut is also its people, and its people have always been quite unique. And I think there's a shining moment happening right now for the people of the city. First, they got together last year for the beginning of the Lebanese Revolution, in which all these individuals have defied their politicians, and they said, you claim to protect us from each other, and look at us, we're all united, and we want you out, you the politicians. And these same individuals who are no longer demonstrating because the government has managed to really suppress this revolution, they are now doing some amazing non-governmental work. There is a level of activity happening in Beirut in helping the poor, fixing homes, getting supplies to the elderly. And it's all on a non-government level. And it's so impressive. It's actually awe-inspiring. I could not believe, I mean, the minute the Lebanese noticed that the government was not gonna step in to fix anything as a result of this explosion. To my understanding, our president has not visited the damaged sites until today or spoken to any of the impoverished people. And it took the Lebanese only a few days to expect all of that and to take things in their own hand. And right now we have tens of NGOs that are really, as much as possible, putting the city back together. And that, to me, makes me very proud, because growing up in Lebanon, I really thought that people will just shoot at each other until everyone dies. And if you see Beirut right now, it's almost like the politicians have lied to everybody until this moment, and the people are very happy. Not very happy, but more like capable of looking after each other.
Yes, all guys, what you're saying is so interesting, and it's pointing to different directions and to show that it is more like it's more a complex situation than just to talk about sectarism that makes it so easy for them to keep in power, right? Okay, so I want to introduce a video so that we can one second, Fred, sorry. No, but I want to introduce a video before, yeah, because we only have 15 minutes left. Thank you, Nofred. So I want to introduce a video that Nofred, I think it's either you or Ginger who could share. It's a video that Mahmoud very generously shared to us, and I hope so. This is from an interview that Mahmoud gave in the the Arab Emirates newspaper. It's one of the most important Arab Emirates newspaper, and it's one of the most important in the Arab world. It's called The National. And he gave a very long interview that I hope we can copy paste, either Nofret or Ginger, if you can kindly copy paste the link in the Ginger in here in this conversation and in Facebook, so that people can then read the whole interview, because it's very interesting. And we're gonna see a small video. It's only 3 minutes. It's done by Mahmoud, and we're gonna see some of the things we're gonna see that we were hearing now, shared by Hady and Mahmoud. So just 3 minutes, and thank you so much.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
See, it's perfect also in Facebook, so go away.
احنا هيك لا بدنا اكل ورحنا شبعانين، وبتعرفوا انتم اهل المصلح كلياتنا الحمد لله، لو شمينا ريحه ايدينا شبعانين نحن عند اهالينا وعند رجالنا هون وين ما كان. بس تعالوا سووا هالبيوت وين ما عم في مطرح الواحد يروح ينام، مبسوطين بالكرتون التموين، ما بدنا تموين ولا بدنا اكل ولا بدنا شرب. تعالوا شوفوا هالبيت، والله حرام عليكم، والله حرام عليكم، الله يصطفل فيكم يا رب، الله يصطفل فيكم يا محمد.
احنا من قبل الحرب بسوريا هون صرنا هون اكثر من 16 سنه عايشين بلبنان، وبنشتغل على مرفأ بيروت. يعني هلا نحن عم ننام هون على الصبح، طيب بعد 20 يوم المطر شو بدنا نسوي بحالنا؟ يوم اثنين ثلاثه ما حدا بيجي، ولا مسؤول اجى ولا حدا حكى. بلد فارط من اول فارط. كيف بلد انفجار؟ فجم على خير. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل فيهم.
We don't have money to pay, and even though we had money to pay, we did not cause the destruction. It was caused, if I want to be politically correct, by a blatant breach of a basic health and safety policy. So I think that they should pay for it.
قرر طلع فوق، ما بقى في حيطان فوق، هو شبابيك كلهم. هيدا هون كان في حيط فوق بلافون، فوق بلافون ما في شيء، هون جبسون بورد ما بقى في شيء، هو الازاز كلهم. هيدا الحيط اللي فاصل بيننا وبين الاي سي ان ما بقى في شيء. هيدا عم فرجيك اياهم هلا كيف صاروا، هو ما كانت هيك يعني قبل. اذا الصور بتشوف مع الاغراض اللي بقلبها في شيء اشياء كثير كبيناها لانه بتخوف.
كل هدول الشباب تكسر، ازاز كل شيء تكسر. احنا تكسر الحي عندنا كله، كله تكسر. مرعوبة كتير، بدي حدا بروح معي بينام معي، مرعوبة.
So thank you so much, Mahmoud, for sharing the images. Thank you so much, Ginger, for sharing the link. The images speak by themselves, and all that we were saying, like you see all these beautiful buildings, you see the that have been destroyed and that were historical, you see the hospital that has been destroyed. So we in this day today, we're going to be talking in the last event that is hosted by Ginger. She's going to present Mouin Jaber, who is a digital activist in Lebanon. And are there new possibilities thanks to these social networks to spread the word? Well, as you said, Mahmoud, you are sharing to television. Are you being able to share it on? Are you thinking about using your phone and share it, or who can you? Has the government respond to any of these things in terms of the media, of the images? Mahmoud, have they?
This is little Catalina here. I mean,
Hello, Catalina.
You can share on TV, you can share on social media, but you know, what is it we're sharing? What is it that we're telling that no one knows? The country is being run right now by a government that is comprised of different mafia groups, and they are fully responsible for the explosion. They are fully responsible for depleting the country of all its resources. They were elected once a long time ago, and when the people revolted against them, the revolution was suppressed. So it's not news, really. I think videos like mine give a face to the crisis, and they show you its impact on individuals of different backgrounds and of different ages and from different neighborhoods. And it maybe moves you, but it's much bigger than that. It's a war between, right now, Lebanon is at war between its people and a government that is not willing to step down. In the same day when I went to the hospital looking to film people who were injured by the explosion itself, I ended up filming 2 men who were shot at by live ammunition by the security forces in a very big demonstration that followed the explosion 4 days later. The public was so angry at the lack of responsibility in this explosion that they went out to demonstrate, and the security forces had absolutely no reluctance about shooting at people. And this happened. And now people are too afraid to demonstrate. So of course people are gonna yell and scream and cry in front of my camera, but this is much bigger now. And there are many parallels in the rest of the Arab world of dictatorships ruling countries. But as our wonderful author Ilyas Khouri said in his recent article in, I believe it was L'Orient Le Jour, he said, it's a country run by mafia, multiple of them, and they have deals between each other, and they all benefit, and the Lebanese individual does not. So they're going to stay in power, and that's where the story is. And I sadly don't see any silver lining in this. I see it will only get very bloody. I think many Lebanese, like Hady said, are going to leave. I think there's going to be stronger confrontations with the ones who remain. And at the end, only one of the two will remain, either the government or the people. But until then, I don't foresee anything promising to come out of the recent tragedy.
I guess tragedies are always like this, like they destroy the material and the immaterial, right? But that's why there are documentary filmmakers. So either you, Mahmoud, or Hady, if you wanted to say something to future documentary filmmakers out there in the world and in Lebanon or in Mexico, or if you wanted to say something today, what would you tell them? Just to, because we're almost closing the meeting today. So either both of you, something that you would wanted to say to documentary filmmakers.
Hady.
Hady.
No, I would say, that documentary, since it's a way of fighting the problems and the conflicts and even the tragedy. So usually, many of the documentaries were born through tragedies, through social and political turmoil. So this is a way that says that there will be always documentarians and documentary filmmakers that will try to go inside the problems, to dig, to be like archaeologists that are digging and preserving the ruins even in order to be the memory. And for me, in a country where you're not, where the different parties don't agree on history, if you watch the different documentaries that have been made since the 1975, you can say that documentary has been like the historian of the undeclared Lebanese history through images and sound. And this is a very important responsibility that, of course, is not recognized officially, because officially, as Mahmoud said, there will be always this deal and the sectarian mafia conglomeration of all the forces. But we are the civil power. We are the civil power that is using also all kind of technologies in order to preserve memory, to record the present, and to show to the new generations that everything you are living is not only the product of the present, it's a product of an accumulation of things coming from the past. So it's an interlink also between generations, and this is very important in a country, where everyone wants to erase the other. The continuity through generations is very important. And this is why, in the documentary community, even we are all, I think, supporting ourselves. It's not like sometimes the competition that exists in the fiction film, which is very different, because we are the voice somehow of the people.
Correct.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud.
I'll get a bit more personal than that, rather than keep it on the bigger picture. As a documentary filmmaker, I think I have wasted years of my life writing proposals so that I get funding, so that I make a film. And for years, I've been feeling that documentary filmmaking for me has become a desk job of writing and rewriting and persuading and emailing and phone calling. And then when the explosion happened and I decided in a split second that I am headed to Beirut, I was frankly quite nourished, because I went back to what documentary filmmaking really is. It's the habit of people who love to be on the street. It's the habit of people who love to talk to other people. It's about being out there, being in it, even when it's not clear what it is or what you want to do. My first 5 days in Beirut were for me really life-changing, not so much, not only by what I've seen, but more by remembering how wonderful innocent filmmaking is. The filmmaking that doesn't have producers and funders and different opinions, and just be in it and be making it. So I really, really want to tell people just to, it's no original advice, but you need to keep shooting. Then that's the idea. And these things can do wonderful shooting now. And back to Hady, I think with the efforts of people like himself and others in Lebanon who are shooting nonstop, and my small effort coming from outside the country, we stand to build a rhetoric together. Not just a point of view, the points of view might differ, but we can definitely give a full rhetoric that answers back to the rhetoric that funnels down to us through television stations that are owned by the politician. So I'm very excited. I think our filmmaking is a way of answering back. Whether it's on Facebook, whether it's in newspapers or TV, it doesn't matter. But it's a way of showing the street level and what's really happening there from our perspective. We, the people who don't belong to political parties and are not funded by them.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna keep two small sentences. Hady said, "Be the memory" to the documentary filmmakers, and Mahmoud said, "Keep shooting."